The collapse of the Nazi regime in World War II can be attributed to several critical factors that collectively undermined their war efforts. The strategic blunders made by their leadership, particularly their failure to secure essential resources and underestimation of their adversaries, played a significant role. The overextended supply lines and the fierce resistance movements within occupied territories further weakened their position. The economic disparities between the Axis and the Allies, coupled with the combined strength and coordinated strategies of the Allied forces, sealed the fate of the Nazis. Each of these factors contributed to a cascading series of failures that led to the ultimate defeat and downfall of one of history's most notorious regimes. Underestimation of Soviet strength. A critical reason for the Nazi failure was their gross underestimation of Soviet strength. The Nazis launched Operation Barbarossa in June 1941, expecting a quick victory. However, the Soviet Union's vast resources and brutal winters bogged down German troops, leading to the Nazis' first on-land defeat. The extended supply lines and fierce Soviet resistance led to significant German casualties and equipment losses. Hitler's insistence on holding conquered territory rather than tactical retreats further strained their forces. The Battle of Stalingrad marked another major loss and a turning point, with the Germans suffering a catastrophic defeat. This underestimation proved to be a major strategic blunder, contributing significantly to the Nazi downfall. Allied bombing campaigns. Allied bombing campaigns were a decisive factor in the Nazi defeat. Beginning in 1942, the Allies launched extensive aerial bombardments on German industrial centers, transportation networks, and cities. The relentless bombing raids crippled Germany's war production capabilities and demoralized the civilian population. The destruction of key factories, such as those producing aircraft and tanks, severely hampered the German war effort. Additionally, the bombing disrupted supply lines and communication networks, further weakening the Nazi military's operational effectiveness. The sustained Allied bombing campaign played a crucial role in eroding the Nazi regime's ability to sustain its war efforts. Failure to secure oil resources. The Nazi war machine was heavily reliant on oil, and their failure to secure adequate oil resources was a significant factor in their defeat. The invasion of the Soviet Union included a push towards the oil-rich Caucasus region, but the German advance stalled at Stalingrad. The inability to capture and hold these vital oil fields meant that the German military faced severe fuel shortages. This affected their ability to operate tanks, aircraft, and other mechanized units effectively. The shortage of oil was a critical strategic failure, contributing to the overall collapse of the Nazi war effort as their forces were unable to sustain prolonged operations. Overextended supply lines. The rapid expansion of Nazi-controlled territories led to severely overextended supply lines. As German forces pushed deep into the Soviet Union, North Africa, and other regions, maintaining adequate supplies of food, ammunition, and fuel became increasingly difficult. The harsh winter conditions in Russia further exacerbated these logistical challenges. Troops faced shortages that weakened their combat effectiveness and morale. The inability to effectively supply and reinforce their front lines resulted in significant losses and hampered their operational capabilities. Over time, these stretched supply lines became a critical weakness that the Allies exploited, contributing to the eventual Nazi defeat. Strategic miscalculations. Strategic miscalculations, particularly by Adolf Hitler, played a crucial role in the Nazi defeat. Hitler's insistence on micromanaging military operations often led to disastrous outcomes. For instance, his decision to divert resources to multiple fronts simultaneously strained the German military. The failure to prioritize the capture of Moscow early in the Soviet campaign allowed the Soviets to regroup and launch counteroffensives. Additionally, Hitler's refusal to allow tactical retreats led to unnecessary losses. These strategic blunders, combined with underestimating the resolve and capabilities of the Allied forces, significantly weakened the Nazi war effort and hastened their downfall. Resistance movements. Resistance movements across occupied Europe played a vital role in undermining Nazi control and contributed to their defeat. Partisan groups in countries like France, Yugoslavia, and Poland engaged in sabotage, guerrilla warfare, and intelligence gathering. These activities disrupted German supply lines, communications, and military operations. The resistance also provided crucial support to Allied forces through espionage and by facilitating escapes for downed pilots and prisoners of war. The widespread resistance efforts forced the Nazis to divert resources to counterinsurgency operations, weakening their frontline strength. The cumulative impact of these resistance movements significantly contributed to the erosion of Nazi power. Ineffective leadership. Ineffective leadership within the Nazi hierarchy contributed to their downfall. Hitler's erratic decision-making and refusal to listen to his generals led to numerous military blunders. High-ranking officials often engaged in power struggles and corruption, further undermining the war effort. The lack of coherent strategic direction resulted in disjointed and contradictory orders. Additionally, the emphasis on ideological purity over military competence led to the appointment of inexperienced and unqualified individuals to key positions. This ineffective leadership structure hampered Germany's ability to respond effectively to changing battlefield conditions and strategic threats, accelerating their defeat. Allied technological superiority. Allied technological superiority played a significant role in the defeat of the Nazis. Advances in radar, code-breaking, and aircraft design gave the Allies critical advantages. The breaking of the Enigma code allowed the Allies to intercept and decipher German communications, providing invaluable intelligence. Technological innovations, such as the development of long-range bombers and more advanced tanks, gave the Allies a significant edge in both offensive and defensive operations. The ability to produce and deploy these advanced technologies faster and more efficiently than the Germans contributed to the weakening of Nazi military capabilities and their eventual defeat. Economic disparities. The economic disparities between the Axis and Allied powers were a major factor in the Nazi defeat. The Allies, particularly the United States and the Soviet Union, had vastly superior industrial capacities and resource bases. The American Lend-Lease program provided essential supplies and equipment to Allied nations, bolstering their war efforts. In contrast, Germany's economy was strained by the demands of a prolonged war on multiple fronts. The Allied economic advantage allowed for sustained production of war materials, while German industry struggled to keep pace. These economic imbalances played a crucial role in determining the outcome of the war. Combined Allied forces. The sheer number of Allied forces arrayed against the Nazis was overwhelming. The collaboration between the United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and other Allied nations created a formidable coalition. Coordinated strategies, shared intelligence, and combined military operations effectively countered Nazi advances. The D-Day invasion in June 1944 exemplified this unity as Allied forces launched a massive assault on Nazi-occupied France, leading to the liberation of Western Europe. The combined strength of the Allies, both in manpower and resources, ultimately overwhelmed the German military, leading to the collapse of the Nazi regime. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below.